Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen, we're back here again at the official one and only Smite Super Builds. Today we have a requested updated build for Sobek. Now I'm going to try to not spend too much time on doing the typical talking about the build for supports, because I feel like I'm just really repeating myself, and if you watch any other Guardian support build video on my channel that's recently updated, of course, you pretty much get the gist of how to build a support. But I'll still cover it, just not as much as in depth. But let's go into the abilities for the newer players to Smite and or to Sobek. Now, some points I want to make here. His passive is pretty much you can use your abilities or use your basic attacks. You gain protections, so that helps. I mean, if you want to build into like more of a bruiser or build into more of a damage-oriented build, you could still have some protections just based off your passive alone. Now, next point I want to make is that Sobek is actually pretty mana hungry. Now, of course, yes, he does have his ultimate to get his mana back, but not all the time do you really want to use your ultimate just to get mana back. Sometimes you want to use it aggressively, sometimes you want to use it defensively, and you don't want to have to strictly rely on your ultimate to get your mana back. So maybe building into a couple mana items may be helpful, such as Breastplate of Valor, which gives us really high physical protections, cooldown reduction, which is always good to have, and of course a decent amount of mana, as well as Ethereal Staff gives good HP and mana and converts a portion of your HP into more magical power, which he's a Guardian. Guardians have really high HP scaling. Next, on the topic of the cooldowns, his cooldowns are kind of lengthy. 15 seconds to be able to pull somebody, flip somebody back. Now that's that's pretty much like his main initiation skill, so we want to have that up as much as possible. So cooldown reduction, like I mentioned before, like Breastplate of Valor or cooldown boots are really helpful for him. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover. The last thing will probably be like his ultimate at max rank. It does an incredible amount of damage. Let's get a damage item on. So let's put on the magical boot. Choose a Magi rather. So we have the 40 magical power, and we can see our scaling here. We have pretty decent scaling on our ultimate. So if you're looking for damage, something like Soul Reaver or Rod to Hoodie, something like that, that can really boost up our ultimate. And when it's fully channeled, does the maximum amount of damage, and we can hit really hard with that ultimate. So let's get into actually building Sobek. Let's start with the starter items for Conquest. As always, the Watcher's Gift is right now probably the best and most useful starter item for supports right now. It just helps you maintain your gold, HP, mana, has everything you really need as a support, since supports are typically behind in gold XP. This can help you kind of maintain. A Mark of Vanguard, it has a couple uses. It's good for like early aggression, so that way you don't take as much damage from the archers and things like that when you go to dive in on your enemy. Good against gods to have dots, damage over time effects, such as Ares. He has 2 of them. Now going into like if you're doing like the solo lane Sobek action, you can go into the Vampiric Shroud to help you sustain in your health and mana. So when you go to use your 3 to clear the mini waves, not only are you healing from your 3 ability, you can also heal from the passive on the Vampiric Shroud. Now, aside of Conquest, again, you don't really need starter items. Going into boots, of course, if you're looking at damage, choose your Magi because of the penetration and magical power. If you're looking for cooldown reduction, which is always nice to have on any god, especially Sobek, he needs to be able to initiate if you want to be like a frontliner. So Shoes of Focus is there for you for the cooldown reduction. The Traveler's Shoes are good for if you're playing as the support role, and you can make faster ganks with increased speed while out of combat, and also helps you in the gold department. So you can help, just between this and the Watcher's Gift, you're pretty good sustain in gold. And then the Reinforced Shoes are kind of situational. If the enemy team has a lot of crowd control effects, then this can help reduce that down, which is always great. And of course, more HP, so you can be a little bit more tankier in that. So whichever one, just pick them. Let's just go with the Shoes of Focus for now. Now, after this point, if you're building as a support, the typical and the core items are the Sovereignty and Hallward Amulet. Now, of course, these can vary depending on the enemy team's composition. Of course, if they are mostly magical, let's say you're playing a Conquest, enemy team has a Freya as a hunter, and or they have a Ao Kuang as their jungler, and of course they have a mage in the middle lane, and that's probably a situation where you probably want to go with the Hallward Amulet first. If it's a more balanced where they have a hunter like Apollo or something, and a Thor as their jungler, then you probably want to go with the typical sovereignty and then hardware. So you kind of get the point. You just kind of build around what the enemy team has in their composition. That's how kind of supports build. Pretty much all situational. After you get past your core items here, then of course, you know, it continues on that situational. So if the enemy team has a lot of physicals that are giving you trouble and you want to go into that Breastplate of Valor, then you can go into the Breastplate of Valor at this point. If not, you can go to the Mail of Renewal. It's rising in popularity as the passive is pretty strong, and of course the cooldown has all the stats you ever need for anybody. You can put this on anybody. It's like the new Magi's Blessings from, you know, a few patches ago. So you can go into this. Or if the enemy team has, you know, a couple mages that are really annoying you as far as they're bursting you down, then you can go into the Void Stone. The Void Stone works really good for Sobek because he spends a lot of time in the front lines, especially when you go in with your ultimate and you're trying to slow the enemy team down and try to build up damage with your ultimate and pop them. So you're spending a lot of time around the enemy team, so you can easily apply debuff aura effects on the enemy team. So Void Stone is really good for that. If you're ever in need of building more HP items, you can go into the Ethereal Staff like I mentioned before. It works really good with Sobek if you're going the Bruiser route or support route. Support, not too popular, but more if you're going for the damage route, because this is, it's more considered as a hybrid item, obviously, because it has magical power, a lot of HP, a lot of mana, and of course the passive turns your HP into more magical power, which is quite a bit. Now, of course, if the enemy team has some hunters, assassins, gods like that are really basic attack heavy, maybe even like a warrior like a Cyrus, then you can go to the Midgardian Mail. So if they basic attack you, they have a chance of having their movement speed slowed down as well as their attack speed slowed down as well. So it's a really good counter item to pick up. Now, let's say something crazy like it's Assault, where pretty much the entire enemy team is all hunters and assassins, then that's when you can go into the Hide in a Minion Line comboed with the Midgardian Mail. Now, if the enemy team has a really good balanced team, then this is when you need both protections. You need both physical and magical. The physical protections, of course, against like the Hunter or whatever, and also physical protection works great against towers, phoenixes, the Titan, things like that. Objectives that do physical damage. The Spear Robe is really great for giving you just both protections. So now going into real quickly, as far as you're building like a bruiser or you're going for damage, let's go into that real quickly. So you will start with, of course, the Shoes of Magi, and this is pretty popular, right? You go to the Shoes of Magi, and then you go into the Breastplate of Valor because, like I said before, he's kind of mana hungry. You can always use the cooldown reduction, mana, things like that, and then you can go straight into the Ethereal Staff. Now the reason for this is if you just rely on the Breastplate of Valor as your defensive item, you're really low on HP. This item obviously gives you no HP, and you do need some type of HP. So the Ethereal Staff will give you all the HP, all the mana, all the magical power. So we can see we have 40 magical power right now. If you just slap this on, boom, you already have 100 magical power. Now from here you can go into another hybrid item. Like I said before, the Void Stone. You can go into something like this. Of course, this is just talking about damage. Then you definitely do need a penetration item. If you're looking for any type of damage, you definitely need a penetration item. In this case, it'll probably be Obsidian Shard, since you can't exactly apply the stacks of the Spear of Magus too well on him. I mean, you could probably do like the 2-3 combo chain, but that's not really fully maximizing the stacks on the Spear of Magus. Now, of course, the enemy team has a bunch of like squishy gods where they're not building any protections and they're not guardians. Then maybe you can get more use out of the flat penetration on this item compared to the percentage. So the percentage works better, obviously, if the enemy team has more magical protections, or either if they're guardians or building magical protections, and then the flat pin's better if they have no type of protections at all. So that's a little tip on how the penetration works. So let's just go with something like the Obsidian Shard for now. And then, of course, you always, for maximum damage, you can just go straight into the Rod to Hoodie. And then you're looking at a good amount of damage, and we have a decent amount of protection for both physical and magical. Of course, we can always increase our protections by using our abilities or basic attacks to work up our passive. You can see our protection stack up there fairly nicely. So, I am level 5, so that's kind of why my stats are actually low. I was kind of wondering why my stats were a little bit lower than normal. That's because I was level 5 while doing this. So that's it for this build video. If you have any further questions, please let me know and I can answer them for you. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.